During the match, the umpire may penalise an infringement by awarding two types of sanctions, the free pass and the penalty pass.
Throw-ins and toss-ups are now considered actions taken by the umpire, rather than penalties awarded.
A free pass is awarded for minor infringements where the infringement occurred.
Held, blue free pass.
A penalty pass is awarded for major infringements, such as contact and obstruction, and is taken where the infringer was standing, unless this places the non-offending team at a disadvantage. A player who is awarded a penalty pass in the goal circle
Obstruction goalkeeper, green penalty pass.
may choose to either shoot for a goal or pass the ball to another player. A definition for set in relation to taking a sanction has been added to the rules of netball. A sanction is considered set once the player taking the sanction is positioned correctly with the ball. In the case of a penalty pass, the infringer must also be positioned correctly out of play. This has required a minor adjustment to be made to wording related to the responsibility of a player taking a penalty pass. The rulebook now states that a player who is correctly positioned to take a penalty pass may choose to play the ball before the sanction has been set. The remainder of this rule remains unchanged. But to understand this better, let's look at it in more detail. Under Rule 6.1.2, the umpire's responsibilities when penalising an infringement remain unchanged.
Contact goalkeeper, blue penalty pass.
They need to blow the whistle, state the infringement and the sanction awarded, and use hand signals to support the decision by clearly indicating where the sanction is to be taken. The rule has been updated to provide an option for the player taking the penalty pass to play the ball before the sanction has been set. Remember, a sanction is considered set once the player taking the sanction is positioned correctly with the ball. In the case of a penalty pass, the infringer must also be positioned correctly out of play.
The main responsibilities of the non-infringing player are to take the penalty in the correct position as indicated by the umpire and to obey the rules of footwork and playing the ball. The non-infringing player may choose to either play the ball before the sanction has been set or wait for the infringer to position correctly out of play.
If the non-infringing player waits, the 3 seconds will not commence until both the player taking the penalty and the infringer are in the correct position as indicated by the umpire. Therefore, as long as the non-infringing player has taken up the correct position as indicated by the umpire, they cannot be penalised for a failure to correctly set the sanction, as they do not have to wait for the infringing player to be out of play.
It is important to know that the amendments to the rule regarding the taking of the penalty pass do not remove the requirement for a player who is penalised to stand out of play. As per the conditions of the penalty pass, the infringer must stand out of play by
Contact wing defence, blue penalty pass.
moving quickly to the position indicated, standing beside and away from the player taking the penalty pass so as not to impede that player, and to remain in this position and not move or take any part in play, including verbal comments, until the ball has been released.
Even though the player taking the penalty may choose to play the ball before the infringer is positioned correctly, the infringer must still move quickly to the out-of-play position. If they do not, particularly in the situation where the non-infringing player has chosen to wait, it may be necessary for the umpire to take action against the infringer for delaying play, under Rule 13.2.1i.
If this occurs, the umpire will hold time, caution the player concerned and award a penalty which will be advanced up to half a third. The infringing player will stand out of play at the new position or at the edge of the area if it is an offside area.
The infringer may not take part in play in any way until the ball has been released, including making an attempt to intercept the penalty pass.
Goal defence, interference, retake the penalty.
If the infringer interferes with play in this way, the penalty pass will be retaken. Rule 7.1.3.4.b. Depending on the circumstances, the player may also be penalised for delaying a play.
Coaching players on taking a sanction, it is important to tell them to look at the umpire immediately and to pay attention to both hand signals and verbal directions so that they know the correct position to take the pass.
Where a penalty pass is concerned, they need to be aware that if they choose to play the ball before the infringer is out of play, they must still do this from the correct position.
The infringer also needs to know and understand that they must move quickly to the out-of-play position to ensure they are able to take part in the next phase of play once the ball is released. Moving out of play slowly or standing out of play incorrectly may result in the sanction being advanced for delay and the player being cautioned.